Tanisa Kunright, the founder of Detour and the Fancy Teen Girls Leadership Academy and Expo. And I want to welcome you all this evening to our first Fancy Friday. We're going to be doing these discussions on Fridays moving forward. It won't be every Friday. Our goal is to move up to having them every Friday, but in the meantime, in between time, it'll be about once or twice a month, really to give the opportunity for the professional women that we work with to speak to you all in regards to issues that you may be facing, and to give you all the opportunity to connect with them and to engage other girls that may not be currently in the Fancy program. So we thank you again for joining us. We have our special guest tonight, Miss Cheryl from the DA's office, and she will introduce herself. And then we also have Miss Charisma from the San Diego County Office of Education. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to you two.
Really happy to be with you all tonight. Again, my name is Cheryl Suing Jones, and I am an attorney. And the type of attorney I am is a prosecutor. So I work in the district attorney's office. And I don't know if you all know what all the district attorney does. I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks and give you a little bit more of an overview of what I do. But the three things that the district attorney does is we prosecute those who harm others. We protect victims, and we also work to prevent crime before it happens. And so in my role as preventing crime before it happens, that's when I talk to a lot of kids like you all about different areas that they could find themselves in, getting in trouble or being victimized or that type of thing. So I have been in the office for many years, and my job now is what's actually called community partnership prosecutor. Before I took this particular role, I worked in sex crimes and human trafficking. And that was an area that was always really near and dear to my heart. And that's what I want to talk to you all about tonight a little bit. So I'm sure many of you have heard about something about human trafficking, and I'm going to share some other details with you. I want to encourage you at any point, if you have a question or a concern, you can raise your hand where I can see it. It's hard for me to be watching the chat while I'm talking, so maybe Tanisha, you can look at the chat. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so again, today we're going to talk about online safety, and there's a term that we call CSEC, but what it stands for is commercial sexual exploitation of children. So you may hear the term CSEC again in the presentation, and I want you to know what it means. Mostly I will be referring to it though as human trafficking. So when many people think of human trafficking, they may think of things like the movie Taken, or people being held in cages. And while that's certainly a part of it, human trafficking is a domestic issue that happens right here in San Diego County. Human trafficking is basically a form of modern day slavery. It is the business of selling children for sex. Human traffickers use deceit and coercion to force children to engage in sexual activity, or to engage in activity like exotic dancing or pornography. And sex trafficking victims are treated like property, very similar to how African Americans were treated during the slavery. There are more slaves today than were seized during 400 years of the slave trade. I'm sure you all have studied about the slave trade in school or heard about it from your parents. There are actually more slaves today than there were during all that time. Modern slavery is a lot closer than you think. I'm going to show you all a video. It's about, I don't know, maybe 4 minutes, that describes how young girls or young women kind of can get trapped into this life unbeknownst to them. They don't realize that this is what's happening to them until it's too late. And so this is an animated view of it, but hopefully it gives you a good overview. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of what human trafficking is all about and how young women get tricked into this life. Some of you may have heard the term prostitute. So a prostitute is defined as someone who sells their body for money or someone who has sex in exchange for money. But I want you all to know that in California, there is no such thing as a child prostitute. Anyone under the age of 18 who has sex for money is considered to be a victim. That means that you cannot be prosecuted for this. Instead, you are treated as victims and kept out of the criminal justice system. And the reason this is important for you to know and for you to tell your friends that if anyone finds themselves in this situation, they never have to be worried that they're going to get in trouble with the law if they tell, because we will always treat you as a victim and protect you and give you resources to protect you. So just know that we want you not to get involved in this and your friends not to, but if that does happen, know that you're not going to get in any trouble. In the United States, there are between 100,000 and 300,000 underage girls and boys that are trafficked into slavery they cannot escape from. San Diego did a trafficking study to see really what was happening right here in our city. And what was determined is that over 3,500 victims are trafficked in San Diego every year. And victims come from every neighborhood, every socioeconomic, every cultural background. They can be any age, race, gender, from any neighborhood. And while many people think that they are coming in from other countries, the vast majority are from San Diego. And the average age that a girl gets trafficked in San Diego is 16 years old. And when I say average, that's the average because it can happen much younger. It can happen as young as 11, 12, 13, 14. And when they looked at the schools, 90% of the schools in San Diego had documented cases of human trafficking. So that's to say it happens everywhere all the time. And what's even scarier is that African American girls are victimized almost twice as much as other girls. So while any vulnerable child can be a victim of sex trafficking, the majority are girls of color. The FBI says that 40% of victims are African Americans, but there's a significantly larger number in major metropolitan cities, like for instance, Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, 92% of the human trafficking victims are African American girls. And believe me, girls don't wake up one day and decide they want to be prostitutes or to be have their bodies sold for sex. This is something they are forced into doing. And tragically, both boys and girls are vulnerable to being trafficked, but girls are disproportionately targeted and deal with lifelong effects of gender inequality and gender-based violence. And this isn't, I'm sure your parents told you when you were growing up, stay away from strangers, and they taught you about stranger danger. And granted, there can be some amount of stranger danger that's involved with human trafficking, but most of the time it's somebody that the victims know. So it's not really a physical kidnapping, but more of a kidnapping of their minds. Because young women are coerced into it, they may believe they're going along voluntarily, which means that many times they don't have to be physically held or restrained, but they're being manipulated. Their minds are being manipulated to think this is their good idea, their idea. 80% of the trafficking is not from a stranger who pulls them off of the street. it's usually someone that's either a friend or posing to be a friend. Sometimes it's a family member or a neighbor that's exploiting them. So who are the victims? So, like I said, they can come from any age, race, any economic background, but there are some girls that are more vulnerable than others. And those are typically girls that have some sort of troubled home life, maybe girls that are disconnected from their schools or other people in the community to support them. Homeless girls are very vulnerable to this, or girls that are in the foster system or have experienced child abuse. Sometimes even girls that have learning disabilities and don't have adequate support systems. And the reason is because the traffickers are very clever and they're able to see vulnerabilities. And so they go after the girls who they believe will be the most vulnerable. So a study showed that while girls are more likely victimized than boys are, boys can be victims too. This is important for you parents if you have boys, girls if you have brothers, friends. Let them know that they're not immune to this. And the way that the predators go after the boys is through the video games, the online apps where you can talk to different people, sometimes people you don't even know. I'm not really familiar with all of these apps, but I understand there's one that's called Discord, you all might have heard of. It's a platform where gamers can chat while playing to communicating. And so, I'm sorry, where they can chat online and then the predators can communicate with them to try to find their victims. So boys can be victims too. Um, I forgot at the beginning to introduce Charisma, who is going to who's putting on this presentation with me too. So I'm going to put on some other slides and she's going to talk to you a little bit about them and maybe she'll introduce herself first.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, I have unstable internet, so you're going to see me kind of turn on and off my camera, so I apologize. But what I wanted to highlight here in this particular slide is that for almost 20 years, I worked with youth who were involved in the foster care system. And so and right before I left the county or the child welfare system to work for the San Diego County Office of Education, I developed and oversaw the commercial sexual exploitation of children program. That worked not only with foster youth, but also worked on prevention, because it was really important to recognize that there were certain risk factors, as Cheryl has mentioned, that can really put youth who are on the margins or who are seen to be on the margins at higher risk for being recruited for exploitations, because there's certain vulnerabilities that can certainly sadly put youth on a pathway voluntarily or involuntarily to become exploited by someone. And this particular slide really looks at our queer youth, right? Those who are who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer questioning. And what makes them particularly vulnerable is when they are rejected by their family members. And so they may come out to their family, or they may have been outed by someone in their family, or somehow their family found out that they are either exploring or that they identify as a part of the queer community. And so just by them being on the street without a home, having nowhere to go, that can put them at the most risk. And what happens is that they may turn to what has been termed as survival sex, to where they are having to trade sex acts to meet their most basic needs while they are on the streets. And so that could be shelter, that could be food. Youth I've worked with, it could even be transportation. Youth who were even involved in the foster care system and maybe had run away from their foster home or foster care facility, would even find themselves having to trade sex acts to get from North County back to maybe South County or East County to wherever their placement might have been. And sadly, there was always someone, particularly adults, who were willing to pay or, trade a sex act for them to get to wherever it was they needed to be. And so, as you can see here by the statistics, 46% of youth who identified as LGBTQ plus, who were homeless, they ran away because of family rejection. They were 7 to 4 times more likely to experience acts of sexual violence than their heterosexual peers. And like I had mentioned about survival sex, they were 3 to 7 times more likely to engage in survivor sex to meet basic needs. And what I want to highlight here is that there are programs locally here in San Diego, such as Our Safe Place, the Center, North County LGBT Resource Center, that have all been trained in how to work with youth and as well as adults who may be at risk or are already victims of human sex trafficking or even labor trafficking for that matter. And so, as Cheryl had mentioned, it's important that youth as well as adults understand that this is not what happens to them, especially in sex trafficking or human trafficking, is never their fault. It is truly someone who is exploiting the vulnerable nature of whatever situation a person may find themselves in. And so in this example, it could be a person who is struggling without shelter. And what makes me really concerned is because, if youth are not in safe and affirming homes, they feel that their best or safest place to be is not in that home and on the streets or somewhere else. And so I thought it was really important to point out that our youth who identify as part of the queer community, they understand that they do have places to turn to if they find that home is no longer safe. And so here in these next couple of slides, we wanted to take a few moments to have a chance for all of us to engage. And so we would like for you to all meet 13-year-old Kim. And if it's okay with everyone, I'm just going to read it off. And in the next couple of slides, as we're reading this together, I'd like you to think about if you might identify any red flags, any warning signs, right? Any alarm bells start to go off for you, and just take note, because then we're going to ask you all what those red flags are. So Kim, a middle school student, is posting selfies on a public Instagram account. She has dreams of being a model and follows a list of social media influencers who show a lot of skin in their posts. An older man direct messages Kim on Instagram after seeing some of her provocative pictures online. He showers Kim with compliments. They exchange phone numbers, text frequently, and eventually the two meet in person at a local coffee shop after school. Kim keeps her meetings secret from her family and friends. The older man often buys Kim new clothes and expensive gifts, including a new cell phone. The relationship becomes sexual, and Kim is convinced the two are in love. At some point in the relationship, the older man expresses concern about his financial situation and tells Kim there's a way she can help make the couple some extra money. The older boyfriend explains he has a friend who will pay for sex. At first, Kim is reluctant and scared, but her boyfriend argues it will just be this one time. And since Kim is already sexually active, she thinks, well, what's the harm in getting paid? The older man also points out all of the things he has done for her: gifts, clothes, nails, and the new cell phone. After this encounter, the older boyfriend becomes more controlling and violent and demands that Kim continue to see customers. So if anyone wants to either unmute themselves or drop anything in the chat in terms of any red flags that you may have noticed as we went through those 3 slides.
That she was a middle schooler and having a public Instagram account.
Yes, absolutely.
Heather says a older man was messaging her.
Mhm. Exactly. Very good.
I would also say the fact that she was posting provocative pictures in the first place.
Yes. Mhm. Absolutely. Y'all are on a roll.
Jayla, oh, go ahead, Malika.
She gave him her number and was meeting up with him.
Mhm. Exactly.
Jayla says she believed that he loved her. Trinity says having a sexual relationship with someone older. Layla says meeting him and keeping secrets. Mona says him saying it would just be this one time. Saray saying she didn't tell her family.
Mhm.
Okay. So you guys did really well with that. So let's see which are the ones that that Charisma picked up and see if because you all did really well with that. I'm really proud of you.
And Derek also says accepting gifts from a man.
Yes.
Oh,
Y'all are on point.
On it.
100%.
so you want to read these, Charisma?
Sure. So that she started right missing days of school, or she was often truant. Well, I'm not sure if it actually spelled that out, but that definitely is a pattern that kids will drop off all of a sudden, that they're ditching class and things like that. A new cell phone is definitely, especially I tell this to parents, if all of a sudden your kid has two cell phones, big red flag, right? Because especially who is paying for that phone? Where did it come from? Kim maybe have started talking about a new mysterious older boyfriend that again she kept secret, but maybe friends are start like, who you texting? Who's always hitting you up, right? That kind of thing. During their encounters, there might be hotel room keys, right, that are in her backpack. I always tell parents, when you're washing your kids' clothes, pay attention to the things that are in their pockets. Back in the 80s, we used to tell parents during DARE, the DARE program, check in your son's pockets, right, for drug paraphernalia. Well, now I'm telling parents for girls and boys or folks who might identify as trans or non-binary, check the pockets. What's in there? What did you buy those things for your kids, or does it make you think about, well, where's that coming from? Sudden change in clothes, nails, belongings, right? Those gifts that were being accepted. And I tell parents, are there things that you didn't buy them? And maybe you didn't buy nails for your kids before, and now all of a sudden they got fingernails. Unexplained cash. Parents, I don't know if parents are still doing cash or not, but where's that extra money coming from? Especially if there are large amounts of cash. Looking at the media posts, any sexually suggestive pictures, like y'all had mentioned, right? Those provocative photos. This one's a dead ringer for parents, especially. Nobody under the age of 18 should have dating apps on their phone because, right, there's a little check mark you check on the app when you start it up, when you load it up, that says I am 18 or older. And so no dating apps of any kind should be on kids' phones. Now, rumors, it's hard because, right, rumors can either be true, not true, some variation of the truth. But I always like to listen to rumors because sometimes there's an ounce of truth. And why did that get started? And let's just track down that rumor and figure out how much of that is true. And maybe it's someone who might need some help. So really trying to figure out, how we can help, even if it's a rumor. Let's track it down to find some truth. And sometimes when youth get involved with someone who is not healthy for them, they will start to pull away from their friends and family that they love because they are now hiding something. Or the person who's exploiting them or not healthy for them is telling them to change friends, right? And so paying attention to those kinds of behaviors. And I think there might be one more. And teachers, I tell this to teachers or anyone in the school community or even parents or friends, if grades start to drop, just like the missing days of school or becoming truant, again, that's a change in behavior. What is happening and what is causing that change in behavior? And it may not, now I want to say, right, any of these things by itself or clustered together doesn't automatically mean that someone is being trafficked, but it definitely should just make us pay attention, and let's ask the second, third, fourth, and fifth questions to find out what's going on with my friend, what's going on with myself, and how can I be of help and not be judgmental. Does anyone else want to add anything that maybe we missed in that list? And then we also want to open it up here. Is there anything different, right, that any of you thought like, man, if I was Kim or if I was Kim's friend, what could I have done differently to maybe change the course? You can drop it in the chat or unmute yourself.
I'll go. I guess I'll say, like, if I were Kim's friend, what would I have done? Like, what do you do in that situation? Like, if it's happening to you or somebody you know.
Yes. So, right, approaching your friend in a very caring and kind, gentle way, and expect anger, right? Expect defensiveness, and try your best to not become angry or defensive. And again, just relay, like, I care about you, I'm worried. I got it. I'm not so sure about this guy. Like, I'm just worried. And you can even point out the different things that you've noticed. And again, very gently, very non-judgmental, and just say, hey, I don't know. Do you think maybe we can get another opinion, another person's opinion? And that might be a way to say, hey, can we talk to a trusted adult about what might be happening? Or sometimes some friends that I've worked with, before, they would say straight up, I'm scared. I'm just tell. You're going to be mad at me and you're going to hate me, which is fine, but I can't stand by and let this continue happening. And I have such strong feelings about it, and I care about you so much. So it just kind of depends on your relationship, right, with your friend or this friend. But the caring part and the love part, and it can go a long way. But you're right, your friend is probably going to be real pissed, but the love and the care that you show, that you stand in that truth. Tanisa, did you want to share anything, add anything to that, or Cheryl, or any of the other adults?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I want to mention before I forget, Trinity and Jayla also said that they wouldn't have had a public social media account. But yeah, I second everything that you're saying in regards to doing what needs to be done. Despite what the consequences may be, coming from a friend, because true friends, even if they may be mad in the beginning, they'll always come back and tell you thank you for doing what it is that you did to get them out of trouble or make them a better person. So you may fall out for a while, but if they're a true friend, then they'll come back. They always have.
Very true.
And I was really happy to hear the girls that are saying they won't have public pages. I know that it's very, very tempting to have a public page, and it's very common in your age group, because you want everybody to be able to reach you. But the problem is that people who want to do you harm can reach you. There's another presentation that I give that I'm not giving today, but that talks about all of the information that people can find on a single Instagram post. So you would be surprised how much information. But we can talk about that another day. But please, all make your social media private.
Heather says, I would say with teens being careful about who they allow on their social media.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, because those direct messages.
Right. The DMs. Don't they call them the DMs?
Them DMs. And so for this last slide, y'all, I just wanted to share that at any point, right, Kim and or Kim's friend, please, you can go to an adult in the beginning, the during, the after. It's never too late, ever, to ask for help from a trusted adult. And I'm including some resources here, helplines, warm lines that are all run. You can text on these things. They're available 24/7. So however you need to reach out, these are just some resources that are available to you. So I hope you're able to take them down. And I think in the next slide, there's a QR code. Hopefully it actually works. So if you put your phone up, right, and put it on your camera, it should just be able to scan that QR code and it'll take you right to the resources that we've put together for you today. And if not, I think we're going to be giving folks the actual PDF because there's also live links that are available for this presentation. So thank you all for participating and doing that with us.
Thank you, Charisma.
And so this next slide, now it's very powerful, right? That we saw the I Am Jasmine Strong video. And this particular slide here, these are actual survivor leaders who are local here in San Diego. Some have actually were trafficked here in San Diego. And so I just want to share this clip with you. And these are letters that they are writing to their younger selves. And so I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Do I just stop share here? I probably have to stop share, huh?
Oh, sure, yes. Mm-hmm.
We are recording. 3, 2, 1.
Dear Jamie, I thought long and hard about how I should write this letter. Should I tell you everything that's going to happen to you throughout your life? Should I warn you who to stay away from or what to avoid? I thought that might be a good idea at first, but then I realized that I wouldn't be me sitting here right now talking to you without you going through any of the things that are about to come your way.
I ran into my younger self today. She was at the early age of 5 years old, having just been violated for the first time.
Dear Marcia, little one, if only you could see yourself the way my heart sees you. Brave soul, within you is a light that will attract both good and evil. One day, you will finally embrace that light and use it to help others find their voice.
I remember the feelings of anger towards God for not answering our prayers for freedom.
So instead of telling you what you should avoid, what I'm going to tell you is that it's going to be okay.
Get up. Their words and their weapons have no power over you. Stand up and fight. Little one, I know they have taken everything from you, but you have to fight.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have been stronger for you. I should have led you out.
Jamie, I want to tell you that nothing anyone does to you is in your control.
But keep the faith. You have no idea what good things are coming your way.
Jamie, I need you to trust the process. Through the tears, pain, and death of who you thought you may be, you prevail. In the moments, it will feel like it's dark. It'll feel like it will never get better. But I'm standing here today to tell you they will get better.
No matter what efforts I made to save her all along, I now know it was not me who ever could have, but God.
Your coming out as a survivor story is going to be nothing short of exactly who you are. Intelligent, bright, beautiful, larger than life, and ready to fight.
Jamie, I know no one has told you up to this point, so I'm here to be the first to tell you. You're beautiful, you're special, you are loved, you are valued, you are courageous, you are resilient, and you are purposed. You are enough. Jamie, it's not going to be easy, but I'm here at 31 to tell you that you make it. I'll see you when you get here. I love you. Love, Jamie.
I was never really there for you, but I know now God was always there. And sitting on the other side of it all, I know how you will thrive.
Little one, I love you. Love, Marcia.
And so what I want to share is that this particular video is a part of a larger docuseries called Stolen. And it's still, you can view the entire series, docuseries here on NBC7. And it really highlights the sex trafficking epidemic that is occurring here in San Diego. Because, you know, I know a lot of folks tend to think that, you know, these things happen elsewhere across the nation in foreign countries. But NBC did a full year investigation, and they talked to a lot of different folks. But I think what is the most powerful, right, is actually talking to a survivor leader, because there is nothing like really listening to and learning from someone who has a lived experience. And so thank you all for witnessing in that video. And these women are incredible. And so I hope you look up Stolen to get to know more about the work that some good folks are doing in the county around this. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And I just want to take a temperature check. That was heavy. So how is everyone doing? Do you want to maybe drop something in the chat to just, you know, give a comment or a single word on how you're feeling? Because I don't want to pretend, right? Or just kind of move on, because that's deep, right? Like, these are women that walk amongst us, and sadly, were exploited in our very own county. And if folks want to use their emojis, the reactions, you know, to thumbs up or however you may be feeling, a heart, like I'm gonna drop a heart. Yes, eye-opening. I'm glad to hear you're okay, but it's hard to hear. Yes, sad. Exactly. Wow. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing.
I just want to add, I think the one of the most shocking things about this is it usually comes from someone who you either know or you feel comfortable with.
Yes.
And that's why it catches you off guard, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And that is why we are so adamant about getting this information to you, because what seems like, you know, something that may not be a big deal could actually turn into a very big deal later that you may not know how to get yourself out of.
Yes.
Okay, shall we go on?
Yes, please. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And so for parents who are with us, when we're so happy that you're with us tonight, there's a few resources that we wanted to share. These are live links, again, to this resource called Culture Reframed. And it actually is a free program for parents or caregivers where it has pointers and tips where you can have these difficult conversations. Like I said, right, if you're going through your kid's clothes or you're getting that ick in your body, like something is going on with my kiddo, I'm worried. It has scripts that can help you have these difficult, uncomfortable conversations. And so I hope you can, you'll later go explore these resources and take a look at them and maybe even share them with other parents.
Okay, I'm going to give you some more details and facts of things that you may not know about human trafficking. So sex trafficking is San Diego's second largest underground economy after drug trafficking. So that means that the biggest underground economy or the biggest criminal economy is drug trafficking, but sex trafficking is next. In fact, most of the trafficking in San Diego is controlled by street gangs. And you might ask, why is this? It's basically because it is highly profitable. They can make a lot of money selling girls. There are 110 gangs in San Diego that are profiting from sex trafficking. And gangs work together rather than against each other and trade girls between gangs. So you think of gangs as having their territories, and they don't come over into each other's territories. They don't sell drugs in each other's territories. But when it comes to girls, all those rules go out the window. And they just trade girls from one group to the next. And the reason that girls are so profitable is that drugs can only be sold one time. You sell them one time, they're gone. But girls and children can be sold over and over again. And gangs commonly use social media to lure young girls into commercial sexual exploitation. Tattoos is a way that they mark their property. And when I say tattoos, I'm not talking about the cute flowers or butterflies or some other artistic expressions. These are tattoos that are used to mark property. And they can come in all different forms and shapes and sizes. They can have the name of the trafficker, their initials. It really depends on who is marking their victims. Sometimes they even have crude barcodes like the numbers that you would see in a grocery store. Charisma, did you want to say something about this slide?
Oh, yes. So I want to share that the victim that you see here with the tattoo inside her lip of Richie, this is an actual victim that I worked with many, many years ago. She was trafficked, recruited and trafficked out of Eastlake High School at that time, and her family lived in the Eastlake community. And so the stereotypes, right, sometimes of like people think like, oh, these kids who are being recruited are from this home and that kind of home. And it affects everybody and anybody. They cast traffickers, exploiters will cast the net very wide. And whoever responds, they will work that relationship the way they need to. And her particular pimp, Richie, was extremely cruel, as you can see, right? Because he actually put his moniker on the inside of her lip. And violence isn't always the experience of people who've been trafficked, but for this particular victim, it was very violent. And so when she was quote unquote, what they call out of pocket, when she wasn't following rules, or if she was like, no, I don't feel like doing that today, or, whatever, she was not following what he was saying, he would, be extremely cruel and scrub his name out of her mouth to punish her. And so I know Cheryl will talk about the different kinds of exploiters. And for him, he would be considered what we call a guerrilla pimp. And so it's important like that when we're looking at these pictures, right, of folks, that these are actual real people who have been branded like animals, so that they could, as if they're property.
So you might ask yourself, or parents might ask, where does recruitment happen? Well, prior to the pandemic, I would say it was happening in schools, in parks, in malls, really house parties, wherever kids are congregating. But now that kids are online at home all day, guess where recruiting is happening right now? It's happening online. Child traffickers in San Diego thrive on social media. The FBI said there were over 750 predators online at any time. That was before the pandemic. So it has gone up exponentially since the pandemic. So traffickers are in search rooms. They're looking for children to befriend and victimize. They send emails, instant messages, DMs, obscene photographs. There are different apps every day, and you kids know the apps way better than us, the adults, know them, but the traffickers know them too. So they are keeping up with them because this is their window into your world. And COVID-19 has made children and teenagers even more vulnerable. And certainly right now, in the age that we're in, the most common way that children are trafficked is online. Some traffickers are even offering subscriptions where buyers can pay to access online images and videos of children. 1 in 5 kids is sexually propositioned through gaming platforms and other social media. And with schools closed due to COVID-19, children and teenagers are spending more time online and are at even greater risk for being recruited into the dangerous world of human trafficking. They know you're home, they know you're bored, they know you're away from your teachers and your friends and your sports, and they are taking advantage of that. Since the pandemic has begun, reports of technology-based exploitation have quadrupled, which means that they've gone up 4 times as much. I made this same presentation about 6 weeks ago to a different group of kids, and at that point, the statistics said they had tripled. Well, between then and now, they have quadrupled. So you know they're going to continue to exploit kids online. And that's why we're talking to you about this today. We want to let you know so that you can be forewarned. Online grooming is another way that they go after kids. Like Tanisha was saying a minute ago, is that, you know, we think of it, we used to think of this as strangers and people that you didn't know. And some of these may still be strangers, but what they do is they spend time wooing you and getting to know you, or in finding out your habits and what your concerns are and what your worries are, so that they can weave their way into your lives to manipulate young people. So and they use social media, of course, to do this. And like I said, all the stuff that you can find out on an Instagram page or a Facebook page, you know, if you tag, if your page is open, you know, they can see the places where, if you check into some place, they see where you are, they see who your friends are, they see where you like to go, they find out things about you. And by finding out things about you, they can find out how to manipulate you. So what does grooming look like? So predators will strike up a conversation, again, building trust. They often pose as children, confiding with victims. They may tell you about how horrible their home life is, so they can get you to talk about how horrible your home life is. And maybe your home life isn't horrible. Maybe you're just mad at your mom because, you know, she won't let you do something that you want to do, but they will present an alternative, something that gives you more freedom. And they're trying to isolate you from your friends and family. They may buy gifts or talk about taking you places. They're ultimately trying to size up your vulnerabilities to see if you have some needs, if you have low self-esteem, you may have financial needs, maybe your parents aren't completely supervising you. They have a way of zoning right in on that so that they can find your vulnerabilities to take advantage of them. Social media has made it really easy to pretend to be somebody else online. You may think you're talking to this beautiful young woman here, and you're really talking to this older woman that does not mean you any good. She is trying to traffic you into the life. Or maybe you think you're having a great conversation with this handsome young man here, and that's not who you're talking to. And maybe you think he's the one that's asking you to send pictures or meet him at the park. Well, you get to the park and you're going to find the old geezer with the cigarette. So I just want you to be aware of that. There is, so this is the, I'm gonna let Charisma talk about this one.
Yes. So here's another great resource on the reality of what can happen very quickly when engaging in social media or or on the internet in general. So Bark is an app that's been created to help. It uses like artificial intelligence to spot out vulnerabilities or exploiters. It combs the internet basically, and what this 37-year-old mom does in this video, it's a 9-minute video. Again, I'll share this link with you. I'll drop it in the chat. She goes undercover and she poses as an 11-year-old on Instagram, and she documents how quickly she gets propositioned by all kinds of folks on the internet. And so I'll drop it in the chat. You can choose to view it. But again, it's called Bark.
Thank you, Charisma. And this is another example of what I just showed. Meet Susan, a 42-year-old man posing as a 15-year-old girl online. So parents, imagine this. Susan and your 13-year-old just made plans to meet at the park. I promise you nothing good is going to come out of that. So be very careful who you are communicating with online. So traffickers are masters of deception. And the reason, those of you who have heard of pimps or prostitutes, or you think of, stranger danger or bad guys or people that are out to harm you, you might think that they look like bad guys. And sometimes they do, but many times they don't look like bad guys. And that's because they are pretending to be someone else. If somebody walked up to you and looked like a bad guy and asked you to go off with them, you wouldn't do it. You would know better. So they're smart enough to know how to manipulate. So there are different kind of traffickers. Some of them are seem to be kinder. Mind you, none of them are really kind, but they may seem kinder up front. So there is what's called a Romeo trafficker. He's the lover boy. He pretends to be your boyfriend. He may try to get you to fall in love with him, buy you presents, treat you like a girlfriend. He may tell you that you're beautiful. The Romeo trafficker is looking for young women that are maybe hanging out in the malls or in group homes, that are online, in internet chat rooms and places where they are not being supervised. Like I said, they may give you lines, you're beautiful, I love you, I give you what you need. I mean, really, what girl doesn't want to be told she's beautiful? So they figure that out. What you want to watch out for are guys who go out of their way to make you feel special before demanding that you have sex with other men. And then there's the guerrilla trafficker. He's the one who uses force and violence. So the Romeo trafficker uses finesse. This guy just uses brute force. He is the most violent and cruel of the traffickers. They use kidnapping, they will drug you, they will use threats to control the victims. They are the ones who may ambush young girls walking alone and beat them into submission until they agree to have sex for money. Or, as Tanisha said, they may tattoo their names in very uncomfortable places to have them tattooed, and then do mean stuff to you to force you to do what they're asking you to do, including beat you if you don't fulfill the quota. If you're in this life, then they're expecting you to make a certain amount of money every night. And if you don't make that amount of money every night, then there is punishment coming to you. Then there's a CEO trafficker. He's all about the money. So he uses money and economic need to lure girls into situations and trap them there. And now that we are in COVID, I know that many families are experiencing financial insecurity, food insecurity. People have lost their jobs. Our economy has gone, to a horrible place. Well, traffickers are using this, and so they're luring girls in with money. And they may go after aspiring models, actors, runaways. They entice you by saying, come over, let me take pictures of you, you're beautiful. They may say things like, you have what it takes, I can make you rich, trust me. No sentence that starts with trust me is a good sentence. So what you want to watch out for is men who flash cash and promise stardom, or agents who want to take bikini or artistically nude photos. There's no such thing as an artistically nude photo of a minor. So let's talk a little bit about sexting. So sexting is something that has come across in the last few years. They weren't doing that when I was growing up, but I know it's a big thing now. But I want to give you a little bit of warning about things that can happen with sexting. But first, I know you probably already know what it is, but it's using your phone or computer to send sexually explicit messages, photos, or videos to another person. It includes images or nudity, or simulated sex acts, or even talking about sex in a text, depending on how you're talking about it, of course.
Cheryl, I just want to interject really quickly. I know we were supposed to be done by 6 and we're a little bit over. So I wanted to take a pulse to see how everybody is doing, if you wanted us to continue, or if maybe we should wrap up and do a part 2. Because it gets better. The presentation continues to get better, but I want to be mindful of the time that you have allocated to sit here with us today. So please let us.
Me?
Huh?
You mean for me or for the girls?
No, for the girls and for the families. Heather is saying we have time. Saray is saying continue. Tamara is saying we have time. Okay, so we'll continue.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Okay, and it's not much longer. I'm almost there. So
okay.
When there's 2 of us and there's just so much we want to share because we have
right, and it's all good, you
Yeah,
know. So it's just like everybody is on the edge of theirs. I am on the edge of my seat. I would just say that, but I want to be mindful of those that may have.
Of course. Okay.
Okay.
All right, but like I said, I'm almost done. So why are girls posting? So many people do it because they think it's a flirty gift to give to a guy. They want to get a guy's attention. They think it could be fun and flirtatious. The most important part of what I want you to hear from this slide is that more than 1 in 5 teenage guys admits to having shared sexually suggestive messages that were intended to be sent in private. So, John Doe is your boyfriend. You guys are all in love. He tells you to send a picture. He'll keep it. He'll never share it with anyone else. And he may, in fact, mean that when he tells you that. But, as teen relationships go, they don't last forever, usually. And so while he kept it private in September, by December, y'all are broken up. And guess who sees the pictures? The whole football team. So just be aware of that. It doesn't mean that will always happen, but there's always a possibility. And it has really devastating consequences when it happens like that. So what are the dangers? Well, images could find their way onto the internet and to sex offenders and other exploiters. It could lead to bullying and harassment. So you post a picture and then everybody starts giving you a hard time about it. And you can actually get in legal trouble for this. If you forward an image of someone underage, you could face child pornography charges. And even if you are sending pictures of yourself, it could still result in criminal charges. Employers and colleges are looking. Some of them even hire private companies to go through your entire social media history. Again, like I said, it could constitute child porn, even if you're sending selfies of yourself. And once they're out there in the digital world, they never go away. You can erase them and they seem like they're erased, but the digital footprint lives forever. So it's really important that you know that. I want to show you this video.
I can't stop thinking about you. I know you've been waiting for this for a while. I wanted to give you something special.
Okay, you see, she thinks she's talking to this young guy, but look who she's really communicating with. Now she's trying to do her homework and he will not leave her alone.
Who are you? Why are you doing this?
So as you see, that can happen to anyone. She probably thought that what she was doing was very innocent and harmless. And so we know that you are young and you are exploring, and these ideas may seem like a good idea, but that's why we're talking to you, to let you know that many times, and most of the time, it's not a good idea. And especially online, you don't know who you're talking to. So you may ask, how do you break the chain of human trafficking? Well, first, know the warning signs. And we talked about these a little bit before. If, as parents, if you see this in your children, girls, if you see it in your friends, if you see things like a dramatic change in behavior, or the child or your friend is unusually fearful, anxious, they have tattoos that look like branding, or they have an older boyfriend and that are calling him daddy. Kids, parents, that's a big red flag. That's really common terms in the pimp and prostitution world, and the human traffickers are taking on that language also. Secrecy with social media, sudden drop in grades. We talked about those before, but those things by themselves don't necessarily mean that someone's being trafficked, but they should go up as big warning signs if you see it. So how are you going to protect yourself? Don't talk to unfamiliar people. Don't put personal information on social media. Don't believe people that you don't know that are telling you that they will make you famous. Don't accept invitations to parties of people that you don't know or are not in your circle. I'm hoping people aren't going to parties right now during COVID, but we won't always be in COVID. And I know different families have different rules around social distancing, but if you are leaving your house, let your parent know where you are going. And don't fall for those lines like, I'm here to make you some money, it's you and me against the world. Those are all lines to trick you. If you see something, say something. You got the resources that Charisma put up. There are a number of resources that are available to you. I have them here. I work for the DA's office. There is a telephone number. There's our websites. There's a child abuse hotline. There is a hotline for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If you know of someone that's in immediate danger, call 911. Human beings are not disposable. You are all beautiful young women with your lives ahead of you, and I want you to know you are not for sale. All righty. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. Anybody have questions or responses?
This is Tamara, Mona's mom. I don't know if I can speak or not, but I'm just really grateful for this information that's provided to not only make my child aware, but other children. So I'm just grateful for all of this, and I'm grateful for Teen Fancy for just being in the midst to bring awareness to our girls and other children that are in the community.
And I am grateful for the opportunity to talk to you all. Hopefully Tanisha can give you all of my information. So if any of you want to just reach out to me directly, if you know somebody that's been, or Charisma, or if you know somebody that's been trafficked, you want to get help for them, you want to talk about it offline, we are here for you. So
Yes, definitely. We're here for you, and we are going to continue to host these workshops on different topics. So if there may be something that you want to know more about, tonight was an overview of many different topics. If there's something that you want to go deeper into, we can, host that as well. Because even though we've been on for an hour and 15, there's a lot more information that was held back in the interest of time. So anybody else have anything? We got a bunch of people saying thank you in the chat. You're very welcome.
I want to say something. Sorry. I just wanted to say that it's an amazing opportunity that we're bringing to the families and the girls. And one of the things that we always try to hone in is if you don't log in, if you're not present, you're not going to receive this information. So I just want to thank the ladies for presenting, Tanisa for organizing, and just appreciate the fact that this information is available.
Yeah. And, as Charisma and Cheryl said, they are open to conversations outside of this setting as well. I know sometimes there may be additional topics or intimate topics that you all may want to discuss. So just know that they're a resource and they're here for you as well.
I'm putting my email in the chat.
Okay. And then Charisma's email is also in the chat. And you guys should be able to find me. In the event that you're unable to connect with them, I can connect you as well. And does anyone have anything else to contribute to the conversation before we wrap it up? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. Well, we thank you all for attending. We thank the parents for, joining us, getting the information. We thank the girls for showing up and getting the information and wanting to know about these things is very important. And we definitely thank our speakers, Charisma and Cheryl. Thank you, ladies, very much. So this is my virtual hand clap.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
I'm really excited to meet you. I can't wait till it's in person.
Right, exactly. I don't think anybody can wait until it's in person. All right. Well, everyone have a great Friday evening and a wonderful weekend. We'll
Thanks
see you
so
next
much.
time.
All righty. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.